Okay, so quite often you're going to have set-driven keys that are keyed wrong, or you need to alter those attributes, that your custom attributes. And so to do that, the first way to do it, if you need to like change the name of an attribute or something like that, is you can have the object selected that has the attribute on it, and then you go in your channel box, edit attribute. Okay, and then here we can edit those attributes. So you would select the attribute that you want to edit, and you could change its information in here. Okay, so I'm going to leave these alone because these are just fine. But let's say I did something wrong, and I already know that I did do something wrong. So if I select the control that has an attribute on it, then there's no keyed information, right? If I want to edit a set-driven key, so let's say I did my squash and stretch wrong. It's driving the factor of my squash 1. So I could come down here and select squash 1, and then go to my window, animation editors, graph editor. Okay, and then you'll see that factor is one of my options that is edited. I'll press F to frame it, and I can edit this animation, and it's going to change how it's controlled. So first of all, what I've got that's wrong is my squash and stretch attribute only works between 0 and 10. We've decided that's not how we want to do it. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click Edit Attribute. Actually, let me select the ball. Edit Attribute, Squash and Stretch, and I'm going to change minimum to negative. I think I like the idea of 30. Okay. Then I can close that. Now I want the factor to actually increase instead of decrease when it's stretched. So right now I have my squash and stretch set to 10, which means my factor is a negative 0.8. I can see that right here. And I can see that the value is at 10 right now for this key. This doesn't, in the graph editor, this is kind of a rough concept. I hope not. But it doesn't only represent time, it also represents just plain old numerical values. In this case, the 0 to 1 represents the value of the squash and stretch control that I have, or the factor value. Okay, so I can select this, and then I can enter a numerical value, or I can just middle mouse click and drag it up, and I can see how it's affecting my ball. And I'm going to just drag it up until I feel like that it's maximum stretchiness that should ever be allowed. Okay, that seems pretty extreme, but I always like to go a little over the top, so the animator, if he decides to do something ridiculous, he still has room to do so. Okay, now I need to set my stretch down to negative 10, and I'm doing this in my channel box here. I need to come in here and set my factor. So I'm going to do that through the SetDrivenKey window this time. You could also add a key in here. So maybe we'll do that. And we'll say -10. I can't remember how to do it in here though, to be honest. Probably have to have that selected already or something. Okay, so I added a key in. Probably wasn't the best way to do it, but I did. I just middle mouse clicked. Now I'm going to move that key, and this time I'm going to do it numerically. Right now the stat is at -10 and 0. So that means it's -10 on my squash and stretch controller, and I'm going to change the attribute to -0.8 because that was the most I ever felt like it needed to be squashed. And I'll move aside, and you can see that in fact it is squashed now. And now I need to smooth this stuff out, right? So I'm going to grab all these and just flatten them. Okay, now I need to continue to, well, okay, so that's how you edit SetDrivenKeys. Now I'm going to, you can stop watching the video now if you want to and you don't want to learn any you're not really going to learn more. You're going to see me edit my ball rig though. So I want to control my pancake with my squash and stretch attribute. So I'm going to go through and select edit attribute. Actually, I'm just going to delete the attribute. So I'm going to right click on it. So can I delete there? Delete selected? No. You have to go to the edit menu and delete attribute. Okay, so my pancake no longer is controlling anything. And now I'm going to have that drive the cluster handle that makes my ball perfectly flat. So from here, I think it's going to be easiest to do that from the SetDrivenKey window. So I'm going to go to my cluster, which has animation on it. And we go to, that's right, animate, SetDrivenKey, set, and then to grab my driver, squash and stretch, and I'm going to drive the cluster handle's translate value, translate Y. I'm going to move that cluster up and down to make this ball squash perfectly flat. Okay, so with that selected and my squash set to -10, I'm going to press W on my keyboard. And let's see. Go to my side view. Okay, that's about as flat as I can make it. Okay, and I'm going to key. Oh, I forgot to select the attribute. Okay, so now I've got my squash set to -10, my cluster handle translate Y set as small as it can go, or should go, and I'm going to key it. Then I'm going to set this back up to 10, and I need to go back here. I probably boogered this up actually, so we're going to have to do some investigation. So my ball needs